Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dynamic Character Productions. We are joined by one of my bestest pals, Miss Emily Pattok. How are you doing? The agent of chaos herself.
Agent of chaos? What?
No.
Like angel, goddess, queen.
I mean, yes, that too, but also chaos.
Fair enough.
And I am joined in person by Lilly, and Alex is here.
Yeah.
My co-host Alex, as always.
I'm very excited for this one. One of my favorite castaways we've ever cast on a season, so I'm ready to hear more about it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so let's crack into it. I remember in your interview, Emily, you say that you are an agent of chaos. Do you normally play like this, and why choose that path?
The reason I consider myself an agent of chaos is because I'm a lot more willing to take risks than most players are in these games. People tend to play it safe, whether because it's like their first time playing or because they want to play a loyal or what they see as some kind of morally right game. Mm-hmm. And I don't care about that. I just think it's Survivor and we signed up for it. And so it's okay to lie as much as you need to.
Yeah, and we see you really kick off the season. In the first episode, your team ends up having to go to tribal, and you were
what was the reason for that one?
Well, we were the first ones to the puzzle.
What do you remember the answer again for the puzzle?
Okay, wait. I think it's your tribe stays afloat.
Yeah.
But in a typical season, we would honestly see you go home first because you struggled on the puzzle, but we see you survive. And I think it really sets a tone for the season where the people that are bad at the challenges aren't getting voted out. How did you maneuver that? And did you kind of see that play out long term in this season?
I mean, it was all about making the right pitch to the right people. Lo and Luke were the key power decision makers in that vote. And it was important that they saw me as someone similar to them. And so for Luke, it was important that hey, we're both science people and we're kind of weird, and if I go, then you go next, right? So, and with Lo, it was hey, we're the only women on this tribe, and we both, she was quick, and I think she's just so sweet. She was quick to be oh, I would have done the same. It could have been me, and if I had been in her position, no way would that have ever been part of my thought process. I would have been you're gone. But it's the luck of the draw. It's that's why Survivor is so great, is you're not going to get a tribe of 5 Emilys. You're going to get a Luke and a Lo and a Mike, who thank God we can get instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see you kind of in a similar situation when you get tribe swapped. You're in the middle between two tribes, and you could have easily been
safe. They wanted to pull you
safe, or an easy vote for both sides to just say, let's vote out Emily and work on it next round. Were you more excited or more nervous being in that middle spot during that vote?
I was really nervous about it, especially after coming off of having been what would have been perceived as an easy vote. I was nervous that my name would have already been sitting in people's heads, which would have meant an easier name to bring up to vote out. And I was mostly nervous. I remember my heart was just racing, and I was there's no way. And I was just clinging onto Jon. I was please, remember we were in another thing, and I adore you. Please, can we work together?
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I also have something from the earlier portion of the game that I think you were a key factor for this season of how the scrambles went. like we've had, this is our 5th season. The first 4 seasons, there was a lot of people very awkward to be like, hey, let's break out. Let's leave the majority group and start having the connections that you just immediately got in. Obviously, part of it's like you were the last person on your that you essentially were why you guys didn't win. But at the same time, you're like, hey, this is Survivor. Let's go break out. Let's go have one-on-ones. That's the only way the game's gonna be able to be played. And that helped. Why I love this season so much is like it really helped shake up the game where people weren't afraid to just leave the big room and start building new bonds, new connections throughout the game.
If we're going to dedicate 12 to 14 hours of our day to play Survivor, God, like, please prevent me from having to do awkward sitting on Zoom time. I don't want to just be sitting there, like, learning how many people in the game are from Seattle. Yeah. Figuring out who I'm going to vote out.
Yeah. Well, and a big part of your pre-merge was those connections that you had, or not a big part, but a portion of it was with Jon and Lee. And I know we talked about it in Lee's exit. So I just wanted to touch on it briefly, how your previous connections or how the newbies were approaching the game versus veterans, did that play any role in your decision-making this season?
Yeah. So I have a weird relationship with just pre-existing relationships versus like new relationships in games. I've had opportunities to work with people I've known before, and I've had opportunities to vote out people I've known before. But I also like have gotten really mad when I see people who know each other just always work together. And so I don't want to fall into that. And so even though Lee and I didn't have any real beef, I just kind of decided to make it beef. I voted him out before and decided that was enough to be beef. And he was like, we had no beef. What are you talking about? It happens. I don't know. I think that's part of the chaos is like, I don't ever know, like one of my best friends in the world, I voted out first in a live game, kind of for shits and giggles.
All right. If you do this to me, I swear. But I think what you did nicely is you didn't choose all of your pre-existing relationships to work with. Like you did cut Lee, you worked with Jon. Like there was balance in your, I'm gonna work with these newbies and these people that I do know, and I'm not going to just run the table as a 3 with you, Jon, and Lee. I
have like chaotic and principled tendencies, but also at the end of the day, I'm very fair. You can see it in my challenges. I'm always policing myself very fairly, and also pre-existing relationships. I'm not going to give myself too much of an advantage.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to touch on in your pre-merge is we see it in really the last couple episodes, your like fluid ability to navigate through all of these obstacles kind of comes up against you to voting you out when you get to Final 5. Did you consider that as you were getting through the game, how this stuff might come back up, or was it just get to the next vote?
I mean, it always comes back up, and I always expect it to. I never get to the end based on, like, just being the last person who's not a threat. I get to the end if I, like, can claw my way to the end.
A lot of games that I've been privileged to watch Emily play a couple times, and it's always, how in the hell is she still here? Or how the hell, who let her make it to the end? Because if she gets there, she wins.
Well, I mean, she does use a certain, to quote herself about Lex, I see similar traits in you, where you're this like this beautiful snake with the emerald green scales and the scarlet sliver tongue. Like, why are these people falling for it? Like you, like in the round where like you send Selkirk home, like you go straight to both parties and you tell both parties, you rat out both sides. Like, this is exactly what's going on. This is who they're targeting. This is who they're targeting. You guys decide. I'm a vote. Like, you say it to both people, and they're all like, okay, we can trust her. Even when you don't vote with them, like, oh, I can trust her though.
a lot of times he does tell the truth. It's just hard, but she's telling the truth to both sides, so that gives her the chaotic factor.
That's the thing. I think I'm a terrible liar, and so when I lie, it takes a lot of effort, and I'd rather do the lower effort path, which is often just saying the truth, letting everyone try to figure out what to do, especially when like you're the person with the power to make the decision. Okay, this makes me want to go back pre-merge. I want to talk about Ben.
Okay.
And our relationship pre-merge, because that's what kind of sets up like why he feels so betrayed post-merge. I genuinely wanted to work with Ben so badly. We connected right away on like that nerdy, geeky level. We like a Michigan alliance of some sort, which remember, I don't care about the small talk. I think we were both like really chaotic, and like part of like me trying to rein in my chaos was saying no, like you can't work with Ben, like you can't have your hands in every single jar of honey.
Mm-hmm.
If Ben had gone after someone other than Jon at his vote out, do you think you might have worked with him at that point or even for that vote?
It was because it was Jon.
Yeah, I mean, it made it easier as soon as you give me like a narrative that's this person versus this person, it's so easy to just push that and turn it into the entire round and everyone will jump on it. And it's not like I was like spearheading Ben getting voted out. It was Ben said the wrong name at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because we do see your hesitation in voting out Ben, because it's like, if we keep voting out the characters, the crazies, the hyper people, it'll blow back on you.
Lydia for the entire round. The next, it's Lydia. Like that's all. I don't know. It happens in most Survivor games. You're either going for the big macho guys or the neurodivergent strategy people. And in minis, the strategy people tend to get the cut sooner, and it's because it doesn't really take a 6-pack to shoot ping pong solo.
That's the beauty of a virtual Survivor, right?
Yeah.
But at the merge, we kind of see you in confessionals. The strategy is kicking in. You're thinking long term. You're trying to figure out where everyone kind of lines up. Who are you thinking at this point are like your top 3 you want to work with? And does that end up happening?
I mean, right at the merge, I wanted to work with Austin and Jon and Lo and Luke and Ben. And Lo and Luke were because I like that connection from the first tribe. It was really like strong. It was unfortunate that Jonathan was a victim of the pre-merge, because I really would have liked to also like work with him. That was a like really great vibe on that starting tribe. Vibes is the theme of the season.
It is.
Our name, or is it the swap name?
Well, Iguazu was your original tribe. No Calakai is.
Okay, so Calakai. Ooh, that's something.
No, Calakai is the merge. Yeah, they're all waterfalls.
Oh.
You can go visit.
I probably won't, but that's cute.
That's fine.
Relatable.
But yeah, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, Lo. I wanted to work with Lo. So
did everyone.
Who did Lo actually want to work with?
Everyone.
Well, so I actually brought it up because in her exit, she said, I wanted to work with Emily. I could never get in a room with Emily. I feel like we were on a vibe. So I want to see from your side, was it kind of the same? Did you feel like you were trying to work together, whether you could get in a room together or not? Or was it just kind of missed because you wanted to, you just couldn't get there?
It was always the kind of thing where it was like Jon would be like, oh yeah, and I'd already talked to Lo. Or Sarah would be like, me and Lo were just in a room and we were talking about how we should vote Lydia. And it was like, okay. And like we were never at the same time. Or if we were in a room at the same time, there'd be the combination of people that we can't say a name because the people here are the people we're voting.
Mm-hmm.
But I always felt like we were on the same page. Lo is one person I never gunned for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been really cool to see you guys like, and if it was a longer term game and had the opportunity to have one-on-ones really get together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. But skipping forward to final 8 or final 7, we see you start to say that, you want to play Survivor. We see you getting frustrated through the scramble rounds. Why was that? I want to play. What was that really referencing?
It was really just these perceived two sides from the swap tribes coming together for the first 2/3 of the merge. Like, it was an insane amount of time where things weren't really shifting. Like, there would be hinky votes here and there that weren't exactly aligned, or idols were being played, so things are still entertaining enough. Like the audience can be entertained.
Or you draw a card to like pick who you're voting for.
Was that
That was pre-merge.
That was pre-merge.
But it's like it's frustrating to see the same thing happen again and again in these minis, especially because it's like, how do you want to see, like, if you're on the jury, how do you want to see it played out? Do you want people to have tried something new, to have noticed when something was going wrong? Like, there's an art to like a puppet master pulling strings and like blindsiding people, but our season didn't have that, right? Like, it wasn't like, it was really just a lot of people going, oh, I think this is the safe option.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a group of people at getting to the end based on being like, oh, I don't know what I've done, but maybe I'll get to the end to outlast everybody. Yikes.
And we see a big theme at that same point where you're feeling like this of duos, and really it goes along with how you were feeling. There's one duo on this side, one duo on the other side, and you and Lex and really Lo are kind of hanging out in the middle. I
love duo narrative. I loved it. I was actively pushing it. I was like, yes, let's see that these are the duos. That's what's happening. It meant my name wasn't in the circulation of what alliances are being talked about. I somewhat felt like I had a duo with Jon in a sense, like whatever we were going to vote at the end, like if we disagreed, we'd come to a solution in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be talked about that at that point in the game, and I loved that we were talking about those alliances. But then you see, Vee and Lydia, like, Austin does get sniped because of that duo thing. So Vee and Lydia, here we are at the final 5, now the final 4. That duo is still in the game.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah,
so they were able to get off.
Yeah, that is
maybe
true.
because they weren't as tight in terms of that was like Vee's pitch. But maybe it's because they were tight. They were just so good.
Yeah. I mean, always voting together pretty much.
Yeah. Whether it was
yeah.
or not.
Because it's the swaps.
Well, and is that like another reason why it was like a little bit annoying for you in the sense of like, it's very clear you're more of a fluid player. Like, you're like, let's just see what can happen. I'm willing to go in a direction that benefits me. Ultimately, like, you have people that you're loyal to, but ultimately you're playing self-interested, as you should. But you see these people that are like just making these connections immediately on their original tribes. Are like, no, that's what I'm sticking to. Even if they don't see it, they're going into the merge and they're like, well, this is who I'm familiar with. This is who I'm sticking with.
Mm-hmm.
They're acting like they've been with these people for 34 days. Not 6-7 hours.
4 hours.
I was going to say, did it not feel like that? Well, that brings me to really the next question is, at final 6, there's no scramble. You're safe and everyone's sitting there waiting for a name, and you're really the first to throw it out. Why throw out Lex and not a perceived easy target, which might be, the duo that has since lasted, Vee and Lydia?
So with Lex, I saw a really talented player who was also getting the like lovable like charisma of everybody in the game. And I didn't see an opportunity to get him out earlier. And with Lowe's exit, I was like kind of reeling, because for me, Lowe was my end game. I was going to go to the end with Lowe over somebody like Sarah. And so I needed to get out the person I was least connected to, and that's Lex. And he also wasn't able to defend himself very well because he was so baffled and surprised, because he had put in all the work to still be under the radar.
Yeah.
So he was that he was being suddenly, he was like a mole being pulled out by his like back feet.
Yeah. And like we see in the exit, part of what baffles him, and it's like good work on your part, is he had trust in you. And he was like, oh, I thought I was going to like Final Four with Emily. Like we have a Final Four deal going on. And then out of nowhere, she just says my name. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. But like, can I say the other people's name? Like, do they know this? I can't spit their names out. So he's like still trying to go through it. And because it's such a short time, he's not able to really figure it out before well, it's time to vote.
And you as the immunity winner, like he can't be like, well, let's vote Emily. Like, F it. And because you can't get the vote. So now he has to say someone else who could possibly maybe vote with him. So like your move of you being immune and calling the shot and just rolling with it was
his relationship, or Lex relied on his relationship with Sarah being enough to protect him from me, which we hadn't had. Maybe we fell into that realm not having too much one-on-one time. And Lex did this thing the whole time. He's never really the one giving the first name. And that's also one of my Survivor pet peeves. While I can admire the skill it takes to get far without giving names, it frustrates me when I see it. I'm like, I want people who drive votes. Like I think that's like the competitor in me.
Do you think you would have thrown out a name even if you weren't immune during that 2-minute scramble?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would have been terrified of myself getting voted out. And I think that in those kind of situations, I tend to err on the side of being more aggressive. I think it's better.
It shocks people.
Yep.
It's what?
It shocks people. So it's like, oh my God, she's saying a name, let's roll with it. Instead of like, she's being passive, let's just go for her here.
Yeah. And like people in Survivor, they like the opportunity to make a move.
Yeah.
I like to survive. Can you hear that vacuum?
We're okay.
Wait, what?
Well, and I want to ask a question based on what you kind of just said about Lo. She was your end game. You wanted to go to final two with her, but we know that you had a final two with Jon. So let's say in this scenario, I love a what if, it's final three, you won a challenge. Let's say there's a final two tribal. Who are you bringing? Are you bringing Jon, who you have a final two with, or Lo, who you want to go with, but you don't have a connection with or a deal with?
Who would you pick, Jon or Lo?
I think we go to the cards. Because I think I beat them both. That's my toxic trait.
Oh, love that.
Honestly, I relate to that so much. It's a mentality that you have to have in these games. Like you can't be afraid to go against someone, but at the same time, like obviously you want the best chance to win. But if you think with that defeatist mindset, like, well, if I go to the end with this person, I can't win. It's like, then why are you playing?
They have different strengths, like, and there's like overlap with both of them. But like, I think Lowe's like, excuse me, he's extremely social, lovable player. And then Jon, well, he also is really lovable. His grandioseness can rub people the wrong way sometimes.
Say that in a confessional. You're like, I want to go with Jon because he thinks he can beat me.
Oh yeah, he just assumes, maybe similarly in an ego sense as me, he assumes he can beat me just by default.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like we have to talk about, right, the elephant in the room. I know somebody asked it on Facebook, but you get to final five. Who wins? Jon wins.
Jon wins.
Jon wins.
And you're like, the obvious vote is Lydia, right? Did you think that they were going to vote Lydia? Were you surprised when they didn't? What are you thinking after
So,
that?
this is all wild, but so I thought Lydia was a good vote. And then I lost my mind and decided to feed Vee a fake plan about going for Sarah. And it completely derailed everything. Everyone lost trust in me, and I no longer became an option of someone who's going to help you to get people to the end. I became very obvious that I just was causing chaos. And I wasn't surprised, and it was because of Jon Ketley covering his face. And I'd only seen him do that a couple times, and I was like,
Jon was roped in on the plans.
Mhm.
You still have that relationship of he didn't throw it out.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. I didn't feel surprised, and I felt like I'd been playing on borrowed time at that point. Like I was 2 rounds. I thought I was gonna be. What are you saying?
What shocked me was it wasn't the Lex throw out like ballsy move that made you the target at 5. It was the Vee hinky plan that made you the target at 5.
Well, I gave Vee the perfect ammo in her palm, and she was wise enough to take it and take it right to the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly where it needed to go, and hopped on, sat, listened, gave the perfect pick. I think that was a wise way to do it. Lydia was willing to go with wherever she thought the votes would settle.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was being crazy, no one knew where my vote was going to settle.
Right.
That's the round. Someone asked, like, what's the round you want to be less chaotic during? It's that one, okay? Obviously.
Well, my last question before we go to Facebook, or if the two hosts have one, is if you could play a live game with somebody from this cast, who would you pick and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay, it would probably. Oh my gosh. Can I have 2?
Sure. Yeah, we'll extend it.
Luke and Ben.
All right.
I think those 2 would absolutely lose their minds in like the most like fun Survivor fan kind of way.
Yeah,
That'd be hilarious.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
And they'd fall on their face in challenges.
Yeah. I do have some questions. So in a secret scene that we'll see later on in the week, we have a voting confessional from you that is your motto for the season is be loyal, be a good ally. And you had it on a sticky note.
Yeah.
And you kept repeating, be loyal, be a good ally. Do I do the random vote? No, majority. Vote in the majority. And like, as someone who has played with you and had to be like, it's okay. Do the easy vote. I promise it's fine. Like, were you trying to be able to, and open to do those easier votes with be loyal, be a good ally?
I was trying to not completely derail the game for my enjoyment. Like just because I would have more fun if I shook things up didn't mean it was going to be better for my game. And I wanted to play as strategic of a game as I could. And with these people, being loyal was the thing. Plus, I didn't have anyone to remind me.
I couldn't influence. I'm sorry.
I was getting so frustrated throughout this game.
I have a question too, and it's from your final words. Like you were talking about how this was the first game in a long time, or your first game period, where like what made it hard for you was the fact that you actually enjoyed the people that you were playing with. Like you've had a lot of experiences where it was not like there's maybe some more animosity behind votes. There's maybe a little more emotion behind votes or motives and moves. But what made this cast like different for you?
It's really easy to vote someone out when you don't like them. And it's really easy to not feel bad about getting other people to vote for them or like see like the things that are off about them. In a game where you genuinely like everybody, you don't want to take the lower blows, even if I'm capable of maybe throwing someone under the bus a little harder or cutting a little deeper. It's like having to pull myself back. And I usually like, if I like people, I don't want to cut them too deep.
Yeah. And then my last question is, what was your favorite challenge?
Oh my gosh, my favorite challenge. I mean, it was the cards one, and it was really just because it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Did you think, this is weird, we are sorting cards for a challenge, all other challenges have been a little bit more involved? Did you kind of think something else was going to go on?
I thought we were playing for an advantage.
Okay.
I had gotten one advantage, like I owe clue on all of it, and it was like the thing that we all missed, and I could have gotten it on these.
Yep.
And so I couldn't figure out how idols were the rest of the time. So my brain was always thinking there was something going on.
Gotcha.
Wherever there wasn't things.
I will say your reaction to as you're figuring out that you're going to win is one of my favorite things. Of like, you're not even looking at the cards, you're just like, yes, please keep saying yes.
I figured someone would say something, and I was like, it was I like unlocked some other kind of energy. Like it was
your seventh wind.
Yeah.
All right. We will head over to Facebook. We have a comment from Stephen Bays. Emily, I hope you don't mind me saying that your game was chaotic and wild, and it was a blast to watch. On a scale of 1 through 10, how shocked were you that it was not Lydia who went home and it was you, 1 being the lowest, least shocked?
Ooh, I want to say I was about a 4.
Mm-hmm.
No, a 6. Closer to shocked over 5.
Closer to shocked. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then his last question is, how many times did you shuffle your deck of cards in the game?
I think at some point I was talking about getting arthritis from a challenge.
No, you were saying Ben and Selkirk had arthritis because
I think I actually got it. They were literally burying their rocks. Like, that was so hard to watch.
Yeah.
I shuffled those cards a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my like fidget toy.
Yeah, sure. Our next question is from Lex. Miss Emily, I gotta give credit where credit is due. Watching the season back, you were a force in the game. Let's continue the same energy with rapid fire questions. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Card games or board games?
Board games.
Go-to comfort food?
BLT.
Favorite vacation?
Any vacation.
What's a movie you love to quote? These are
For Sunset.
okay.
I don't know. I don't think I quote that many movies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Harry Potter.
What's your favorite movie? Do you have one?
Oh wow. Come back to you in 2 to 3 business days.
All right, that's good. Lex, DM her. All right. Favorite Survivor player?
Stephen Fishback.
Least favorite Survivor player?
Rupert.
Solid. And then favorite Survivor season?
David versus Goliath.
And next we have a question from Ben. You are done with your rapid fire questions from Lex. You can breathe.
Okay.
Ben says, Emily, Chaotic Queen, and non-existent Michigan Alliance duo. If you knew that voting Austin at the round where Lee goes would have sent it to Rocks, would you have done it for the chaos?
I have always wanted to draw rocks, knowing I was going to draw rocks.
I would have cried if you got on rocks. Are you kidding me? And then you did it to yourself. I would have smacked you.
Well, McKenna, in that scenario, either of us was going to lose someone that we brought in.
I drew rocks at the freaking Final Four. First off, that never should be rocks, but I've drawn rocks there. I want to draw rocks at like an 8 or a 10 scenario where like the stakes are really high.
I feel like the stakes are higher with the 10 or with the 4. There's less bad.
Hey, no. There's more stakes in an early merge going to rocks. The Millennials versus Gen X, the Zeke and David vote. Like, that's iconic.
Okay, Millennials versus Gen X also in the running for favorite season.
Okay. Luke asks, why are you the best in every way?
Luke, I don't know what I did to earn you as a fan. I love you. I am also a fan. It's not genetic, so I'll tell you that.
We have another question from Jay Milligan. Hey, Emily, I would like to welcome you to the DCP Mini 5th Place Blindside Club. Great group, 4 of us. You played an amazing game. What was the move you were most proud of?
What was I most proud of? That's a hard question. Is it boring to say it's the very first one? It was being the first boot. Like,
that's not boring at all.
It was
a great game.
I fully expected
the entire game.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it was the difference between a first boot versus 5th place. Like, which would you choose? Mike, I'm sure you would have chosen 5th.
Yeah.
But and probably would have been able to get to 5. Yeah, I think it's getting out of that. It was reading the people quick enough to be able to like know where I stood and like how to get it, and that instilled a lot of confidence in me going into like other games. That like, hey, like you are this. It's not just like luck every time.
Yeah, for sure. Lydia has a question for you. You were a blast to play with, and I hold a lot of admiration and fear, LOL, toward you as a player. Since you and your deck of cards were basically your own duo in this mini, what is your favorite card game?
Oh, Euchre. It's a Michigan card game. It's amazing. I love it. A second card game for you scrubs that don't know Euchre is gonna be King's Corners, which is kind of like solitaire-ish, maybe.
Okay. Our last Facebook question for you, from Greg. Emily, you're such a ball of energy and a really dynamic character. Would you would have loved to see you argue your case at the end. Is there a round you wish you were more chaotic? Is there a round you wish you were less chaotic? So less chaotic, we answered, which was Final 5. Do you even have a round you could be more chaotic with? Probably maybe Luke.
Yeah, definitely. I think I wish I would have been more chaotic when we voted out low. I wish I would have found a way to like get us not to do that.
Yeah.
Or the round that Austin went. Like if I could have stirred the pot in some way to like get their votes not to have been on Austin. Like if they had idled out Sarah. I don't know. The card. So much fun.
That is all our Facebook questions.
Yeah, so we always like to end our exit interviews with the same question, and that is, if you could sum up your game, and I'm going to add a caveat, it can't be chaotic, in one word, what would it be and why?
Restrained.
All right.
We'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining us tonight. It was a blast dissecting your game once again. I said it at the beginning, I'll re-say it again. You were one of my favorite characters we've ever had on this show, period. I hope it's not the last time we have you on this show. But that does wrap up our time here. Everyone, this is the end game of Trinity Falls. Before you know it, tomorrow's the finale. It'll be on Thursday night. Then we'll be back to recording exit interviews, and we'll have our recap to end the season with John David Millsip and his last two guests on Sunday. And join all of our social media. And of course, press that like button on that video, press subscribe, and press that bell for all notifications so you know when new content drops. But this has been Dynamic Character Productions, and we'll see you next time.